we're not done. We're not done. We still have a very important part. That is the other important environment that is an object. Now, you know, what happens is that they took the JavaScript engine from and made it to be a standalone application, so it would be executed independently from the browser. It doesn't need a browser to execute. Okay, so that started a whole set of use cases. You know, you can download the Node.js from here. So make sure to install, download and install the stable version, the long-term support version, not the latest, just because this one is safer. Okay, so you can download and install it.
Is this one for Mac too?
Yeah, there is one for Mac. Yeah, it's just open the one from Windows because my. Yeah, so the LTS. Okay, and then there's some helpful documentation you can find here. Okay. Now, what does the Node.js look like? It's pretty much look like the console. It's the command line. It's a completely command line tool that executes JavaScript. So if you once you download it and install it, you can run it. So here I open the terminal and then run the Node.js tool by using the command zone. Okay. Once I do that, it opens the console. You see this console, it looks like the prompt. It looks like the prompt in the console. Okay, this pretty much is the console. And it takes JavaScript code executed one by one, just like the console. They call it read, eval, print loop. So read the statement, evaluate it, and print the result. And then why does it loop? Because it loops. Because it keeps waiting for more statements to read, evaluate, and print. Okay, so something like this, I type console.log. So it's read the statement, evaluated. So evaluate function is just the execution of the function, and then the log itself prints the statement. So this statement is from the log method, and then it prints the result of the function or the return from the function. So this is what undefined is. We're gonna talk about what the return, what is undefined mean. We talk more about functions later, but this is just the return of the function. Now, if the line has a problem, it will give you the error message. Okay, and then it has a whole set of tools that are not JavaScript. Okay, something like that. If you want to exit from Node, how do you exit from Node? So anything starts with dot is a command line to. It's not JavaScript code. Okay, so here are some set of statements. So now, so the engine itself, the Node.js is the execution engine itself, right? Now we talked about a built-in or standard library JavaScript code that comes with the engine, right? But some of it related to the environment. So we talked about the alert function that asks the browser to open the alert window, right? So it is related to the browser. Now this didn't come with Node.js. Okay, so the engine communicates with the environment surrounding it. If it's running within the browser, then the browser allows. There are some communication with the browser to access its own widgets. Okay, now we took the engine out, so we can't make this communication with the browser anymore. We might be able to communicate with the operating system that is now the surrounding environment of the engine, but something like alert, it's not going to work on Node.js because that's something that is tied to the browser. Okay. All right, so here's the REPL commands that I was trying to talk about. So the REPL itself takes the JavaScript to evaluate and print the results, right? But it also, there are some set of commands that are not JavaScript, like the exit. And if I want to see other commands, I can type .help to show me all the REPL commands that I can use. Okay. Okay, so you can run this node on its own, like a command line on its own. Okay. Now, when you create, when you want to write a full script, you don't want to write the script in the command line, right? You can write it in a file like this, and then ask the node to execute the file. Okay, so either get run node and give it the code interactively, so it's one by one, or write your code in a file and then tell node when to run that file. Okay, so here I had a file called HelloJSWorlds. Of course, I removed the alert because they only work on the browser, but the console is something that works anywhere. Console is log, and then I just tell node, so node is the name of the tool, and then space file name. Now you see why the spaces in the file name might be problematic. When you have a command line, the space means the separation between the command and its arguments or the set of arguments. Okay, now later on when we use the VS Code, we may not write the command ourselves, but VS Code will take our button clicks and stuff like that and translate it into command line. And if we have a file that has a space in its path, it poses problems. Okay, so just remember to not to make sure that you put the file in a place that doesn't have like the path to your file doesn't have any spaces. Okay, so here, so that's another way to use Node.js. If you can put all your code in a separate file. Now you can see the commands in JavaScript similar to the commands in Java. The one line with double slash and the multi-line with slash star here.
If you run a JavaScript file that has commands that you have in a browser,
yeah,
and you run that file on browser,
it will give you error.
yeah.
Now the surrounding environment of Node.js is not the browser anymore. It's the operating system. So we can access functions of the operating system and read files and stuff like that, that we cannot access any function related to the browser. Okay. All right, so that's one way. Okay, so you can just open a plain text file and write your code and then run it in Node.js, which can be good for a couple of lines, but if you want to have a full application, you need help. Okay, so something like Visual VS Code can be helpful in that. Now, what do we call VS Code? Officially, most people call it code editor. Okay, so there is some minor distinction between an IDE, an integrated development environment, and the code editor. The code editor is lighter with less features. Okay. It doesn't seem to me VS Code. I mean, I feel like VS Code is closer to IDE than code editor. If you tried something like Sublime, for example, that's I'm comfortable from that code editor. It doesn't have a lot of features. But VS Code, most people, because it's much lighter than the actual Visual Studio IDE, people call it a code editor. But it doesn't matter what you want to call it. It's a helpful tool to write code. You want to call it code editor, want to call it IDE, it's up to you. Okay, so you can download it here to make sure when you do the installation, install Node.js first, and then install VS Code so that it can pick it up. All right. Okay, so this is how it would look like. You can change the environment if you don't like the black background. So this is how generally it would look like. Okay. And you can open the file here. So from file open, just like you like when you open any file, you usually go to the file menu and then open it. Then you open the directory. You will see the directory structure there. Okay. Now you can run this in the browser. You have to, if you want to see the HTML in the browser, it doesn't run here. You have to run in the browser. Okay. So right click on open the browser. But if you want to run the JavaScript code, so this concept log can run in the browser or in Node.js, right? So we can run it in Node.js by opening a terminal. So this is, you can open the terminal within the environment. So this is just a command line. It's not really related to VS Code. It's just puts it in the same place. This is just your terminal of your operating system. Okay, so you open it from here, terminal, open new terminal, and then make sure you're in the right place, and then type node, and then the name of the file, it will execute. Okay, that's one way. But that executes the file blindly. Okay, now if you want to execute the, like, look at the code and pause it for debugging and stuff like that, we want to execute it internally in a debug mode. So for that, we will need to configure, we need to tell VS Code that we want to run this code in Node.js environment. Okay, so you just go click on this debug button, okay, run debug, and then click on create and launch the JS file, the JSON file, and then choose the Node.js as the environment. Okay, if it is properly installed, it will pick it up with no problem. If it doesn't pick it up, then make sure the code you didn't install it, so just go back to that step. All right, so you can run it in debug mode. To start debug mode, if there's a breakpoint, it will pause at the breakpoint when we run it in debug mode. So if we just click F5, it will run it in debug mode. If we don't want to pause at the breakpoints and we want to do the execution as one run, we can just control an F5. But most of the time, we will run it in debug mode while we are doing it. Okay, and then it was just executed in the debug console here, not in the check. So you will see the console output in the debug console. All right. So this is how. So here, if we click on, if we run it in the not in debug mode, Control F5, it will just execute the 2 lines. Okay. If we run it in debug mode, then it will pause at the breakpoint, and then we have all these tools to examine the internal state of the program. All right. And then we're gonna use that. We're gonna use that all this. We're going to use all these new tools heavily while we are working in throughout the course. Now, if I want to continue the execution, I just click on the play button. Okay, and then that would be the end. Okay, now, one quick thing. So we agreed that JavaScript is interpreted, so it is executed line by line, right? But there is a concept that's called a just-in-time compiler. Okay, now the compiler executes the entire file before, translates the entire file before execution. That's a regular compiler. And then the output of that compiler is another file, right? Now the just-in-time compiler, from the name, it's just in time, right? There's no output file. It translates it for execution, but it doesn't execute line by line. Okay, if we go to the interpreter, the line by line gets interpreted and executed. Okay, but the just-in-time compiler still goes line by line, but accumulates the translation for the sake of optimization. Okay, now if you want to learn more about the just-in-time compiler, this link is helpful. However, there are some concepts we didn't cover yet. We're going to cover throughout the course. But you can keep this link if you're interested, or later on, you can go back to it after we cover it all. All right. So oftentimes, just-in-time compiler would be part of the browser. Okay, but when we're writing, we have to think of it as line by line execution. Okay. All right. So that's all. Thank you.
Well,